Chapter 4. Darlene screamed. "Bo!" Max cried. "Go get Savage," Jerry ordered. But no one moved. They were all frozen in shock. Elaine's gaze locked on Bo, his gaping eyes, the ugly red wound torn across his throat, and the blood-smeared knife. "Come on," Jerry pleaded. "We have to get the principal." He grabbed Elaine by the arm, but she shook him off. She moved closer to Bo. "Wait," she ordered. "What?" Jerry replied. Bo's hand moved. "He's still alive." "You saw it?" Max asked. Elaine didn't answer. The wound terrified her, but she had to know if Bo was still alive, if she could help him. She wanted to run, but something made her stay. Something made her bend over Bo and take his hand. She felt a pulse. She turned to the others. "He's alive!" Bo's hands shot up and clamped on her throat. "It's your turn," he screamed. "More ketchup?" Elaine screeched, batting away Bo's hands. She scrambled backward until her back hit a refrigerator. Her terror quickly turned to anger. "You jerk! I'm going to kill you!" "I'm already dead," Bo replied, grinning. "And Jerry, you want to dissect me?" Elaine tried to stop her hands from trembling. She shook her head. "I can't believe we fell for that." "You really are a jerk," Jerry told Bo. "And I thought ketchup was only good on fries," Bo joked. He grabbed a dish towel and started wiping the goo off. "I saw myself in a mirror back there, and man, it looked real." "No kidding," Darlene said, scowling. "You really thought there was some psycho running around cutting people up?" Bo asked. "This is Shady Side," Elaine commented. Everyone stared at her. "Who knows where they get the cafeteria food?" she added. The group burst into laughter. Everyone except Darlene, Elaine noticed. "Maybe she's worried that I'll steal Bo away from her," Elaine thought. She ignored the way that idea made her smile. "Let's get out of here," Bo declared. Bo led the way out into the main cafeteria again. So far, the coast was clear. "Where to?" Max asked. "Pick a direction," Bo offered. "Shh," Elaine hissed. "Listen." Everyone fell quiet. Footsteps clacked on the tile floor. Elaine's heart began to pound. This was no catch-up scare. This was real. "Savage is coming," she whispered. "Let's move," Bo cried. He pushed Max toward the exit to their left. "No," Jerry protested. "That's where he is." "No, he's not," Max replied. He pointed to the right exit. "He's over there." The footsteps echoed off the walls and ceiling of the cafeteria. Elaine strained, but couldn't tell where they came from. "We have to do something," Elaine whispered. "He's coming." "Back to the classroom," Jerry ordered. "No," Bo countered. "He'll cut us off. I know a way. Come on." He plunged back into the maze of the kitchen. Elaine followed. As they wandered through the huge hulks of stainless steel, her pulse pounded in her ears. What if Savage caught them? More detention, or worse. She took a deep breath and kept moving. Bo led them to a door on the other side of the kitchen. They stopped and listened. The footsteps were gone. For now. Elaine let out a relieved sigh. Bo carefully pulled back the bolt that locked the door. He turned the knob, producing a loud click that might as well have been a gunshot in the silence. Still no footsteps. Bo pulled the door wide open. Beyond it stood a long hallway with rows and rows of lockers, and almost pitch blackness. There were no windows in this hall. Bo motioned them forward. One by one, they stepped out into the hallway. The kitchen door closed behind them. Elaine couldn't see anything. Thump, thump. The footsteps, louder now. Elaine tried to get her bearings in the darkness. The footsteps were so close, as if coming from the stairwell right next to the kitchen. "Move," Bo grunted. He bolted down the hall. Elaine chased after him, doing a kind of scramble that was half sprint, half tiptoe. She didn't look back to see if the others were coming. The steps grew louder. Elaine tried to run faster, but it was useless. The hall was too long. Savage would come out of the stairwell, gaze down the hall, and spot them running, hear their feet pounding on the floor, and the game would be over. They reached the end of the hallway, and Bo stopped. "Are you crazy?" Jerry huffed. "Go." "Listen," Bo replied. The footsteps were gone. "We still should keep moving," Elaine suggested. "He could be anywhere." Bo stared at her for a moment, as if actually considering what she said. Elaine's cheeks grew warmer, and she shifted uncomfortably. She hated when he stared at her like that. "She's right," Bo finally said. "If we stay here, Savage will nail us for sure." "Thought you didn't care," Jerry said sarcastically. "I don't." "I know where we can go," Elaine offered. She didn't know if it was a smart choice, but staying in the halls was definitely too risky. Come on. She moved forward a few steps, then looked back. The four of them stared at her. Are you going to argue about it or come with me? She asked. She pressed on, telling herself not to care whether they followed her or not, but she did care. She didn't want to be alone in the dark hallway. When she glanced back, she was surprised to see the others close behind her. Elaine couldn't help smiling. Bo wasn't the only one who could be a leader. She only hoped her escape route didn't get them caught. Where are we going? Max asked. You'll see, Elaine replied. Check it out, Bo exclaimed. This was a cool idea. Elaine nodded. They stood on the auditorium stage, overlooking a dim expanse of chairs. Their voices echoed in the huge room. How about some lights? Jerry asked. Don't even think about it, Bo warned. Yeah, it might interfere with Bo's next practical joke, Darlene muttered. Bo chuckled. Are you still mad about that? It wasn't funny, Darlene replied. Yes, it was, Bo argued. You're a jerk, Bo, Darlene muttered. I shouldn't even be talking to you. But you are, Bo told her, because you know you can't stay mad at me for long. Oh, really? Darlene replied, but the tiny smirk on her face told Elaine that Bo was right. These are the ugliest stage sets I've ever seen, Max interrupted. Elaine turned to see what he was talking about. The scenery for the current play was stacked along the back wall of the stage. 3 gigantic sheets of canvas had been stretched over wooden frames. Blue skies and green trees were painted on them. Whoa, that's bad, Max said. A monkey could paint better than that. A monkey could, Bo teased, but could you? Max smirked. Watch me. He marched over to an open supply cabinet at the right of the stage. He pulled out a box filled with cans of paint. Max selected a squeeze bottle of black acrylic paint and squirted it all over the first flat. Then he uncapped a bottle of blue, then orange. Elaine felt a tremor of shame. Max had crossed the line between fun and outright nastiness. Some of her friends were in the drama club. She could just imagine their reactions on Monday morning. Somebody spent hours working on that scenery, Jerry muttered, echoing Elaine's thoughts. Hurricane Max destroys all, Max replied. They should have posted a guard. A furious screeching sound made Elaine jump. She turned to see Bo standing just off stage, a violin in his hands. He drew the bow across the strings, and the auditorium was filled with a shrill screaming sound. Cool, Bo said with a grin. He let loose with another screech. And I've never had a single lesson? It's for Fiddler on the Roof, Jerry yelled over the noise. The drama club is putting it on in a few weeks. Bo dragged the bow over the strings again. Cut it out, Elaine called to Bo. Why don't you just call Savage? But Bo continued to saw at the strings. She wandered backstage, past all the prop boxes and set decorations. Way at the back, far from Bo's screeching, she discovered a black curtain. It hung from high up in the auditorium, so high that Elaine couldn't see the top. Someone had tacked the curtain to the wall with tiny, sharp nails. That's weird, she thought. Why do they have a curtain so far from the front of the stage? She peeled back the fabric. The little nails popped out and clattered to the floor around her. Elaine gasped. Behind the curtain, a dark, narrow corridor stretched away from the stage. She had never seen it before. This is too cool, she thought. She stepped into the hall. The darkness closed around her. She slammed her toe against something hard, but she couldn't tell what it was. She yelped, surprised how loud her voice was in the gloom. She didn't hear a sound from the others. How far had she gone? She was alone. A twinge of fear crept up her spine. Maybe exploring this place wasn't such a good idea. Who knew what was back here? But what could really happen? Mr. Savage could catch her, and she would have more detentions. But then another word snaked into her mind. Suspension. Elaine shook the thought away. That was crazy. Only the real problem kids got suspended. People like Bo, and Darlene, and Max. But what if they got caught? What if Savage found them on stage? She glanced around. This corridor was the perfect hiding place. It was dark enough that no one would see her. No one would ever know she was there. But she knew she should get back. She took a step toward the stage. The wooden floor beneath her groaned. A loud cracking sound followed. Then, with a splintering roar, the floor gave way beneath her. Elaine lost her balance. She flung out her arms, grabbed for something, anything to catch herself, but all she touched was air. She let out a scream as she fell through the floor. Chapter 5. Elaine hurtled through the darkness. Air whooshed by her face. Her stomach slammed up into her throat. Her lungs emptied. Then she hit the ground. Hit it hard. White hot pain rocketed up her left leg from ankle to hip. A blaze of stars dazzled her eyes. She heard a loud ringing sound in her ears. She couldn't breathe. Her heart seemed to stop. Everything went black. Then she felt cold cement beneath her. She felt the sharp, gritty steel of a ladder digging into her shoulder. She felt her heart pounding in her chest. The numbness gradually left her, replaced by specific points of pain. Her ankle throbbed. Her right elbow burned under her sweatshirt. How far had she fallen? 10 feet? 20? 50? No, 50 feet would have killed her, but 20 was a good guess. It felt like forever, long enough for her to think she was going to die. But I'm alive, she told herself, and I have to figure out where I am. She sat up, pain shooting through every joint. She ran her fingers over her ankle. It was already so swollen that she couldn't feel the bone. She tried to move it. Ow! She yelped. She'd never felt such pain in her life. Still, she knew it wasn't broken. As painful as it was, she could move it. She rubbed her elbow, feeling warm, wet skin where there should have been sweatshirt. Torn through, she thought grimly, and bleeding. A wave of nausea rolled through her. A cold sweat broke out on her forehead. Steady, Elaine murmured into the darkness. I'm okay. I'm okay. The sound of her own voice calmed her a little. She managed to sit up, feeling the steel ladder behind her. She couldn't see how far up it went. She patted the ground around her. Her hand brushed over rough concrete and bits of trash. A broken bottle, a crushed can, wet paper. Where was she? Some kind of tunnel beneath the school, she decided. But why was it here? She'd never heard anything about it. Elaine drew in a deep breath. The place smelled damp and sort of moldy. Wherever she was, no one had been down here in a long time. She had to get out of there. She grabbed onto a rung of the ladder and tried to pull herself up. Sharp pain shot through her ankle. She dropped back to the ground. That did it. Help! She yelled. Her voice echoed off the walls and up the shaft, but it came out thin and small. Anybody? She tried again. Help me! Anybody! No reply. She was alone in the dark. A wave of fear joined the nausea. What if they didn't find her? She could be down there for days. No way, she thought. She screamed again. Still nothing. Come on, Elaine roared, swinging her fist in frustration. It slammed into the concrete wall, sending a blast of pain up her arm. She winced and slumped against the sharp metal of the ladder. Sweat poured down her face. It was hard to breathe in the dank air. Then she heard a sound. A chittering sound. Elaine froze, listened. Silence now. Then again. Tap, tap. To her right. Get off the floor, she ordered herself. Elaine fumbled for the ladder, her ankle protesting every movement. She raised herself to her knees, relief flooding through her as she grasped the rough metal. She pulled herself up, and then something fell onto her neck, something warm and heavy, and alive. Chapter 6. Elaine screamed. The thing on her neck squirmed. Tiny claws burrowed into her skin. She grabbed at the thing and tried to fling it away, but it was tangled in her hair. It gave a loud squeal. A rat. Panic flooded through Elaine. She screamed again. Slimy fur smeared against her skin. Finally, she tore the creature from her hair and hurled it into the tunnel. The rat landed with a squeak. Elaine scrubbed the back of her neck with her fingers. She could still feel the rat's little claws scraping against her skin. It's gone, she told herself. Just relax. It's gone. And I'm out of here. Elaine grabbed a rung of the ladder. She hauled herself to her feet, putting all her weight on her right ankle. Pain shot up Elaine's left leg. She forced herself to climb onto the first rung. A thin layer of moisture covered the metal. Her hand slipped. She fell to the floor once again. She landed on a warm, squirming lump. The lump screeched and wriggled beneath her. Elaine howled. She rolled away. The rat scurried off into the darkness. Elaine flopped onto her back, close to tears. Cool, came a voice. Elaine froze. A voice! Get me out of here, she cried. Ellen, what's her name? Asked the voice. Elaine, she growled. They found her. She heard the same creaking sound that came before she fell, and a loud slam. The glow of Bo's lighter appeared above her. It's a trap door, came Bo's voice. Someone put an old board over it. Look, Elaine crashed right through. What did you do, Elaine? Jump on it? Jerry teased. No, it rotted through, Bo said. Will you just help me? Elaine called. I hurt my ankle. Can you climb? Max asked. Anger flowed through Elaine. What do you think? I'm coming down, Bo replied. Are you crazy? Elaine heard Darlene growl. You could fall too. Elaine will break my fall, Bo joked. Even under the circumstances, that comment made Elaine smile. Now that Bo was here, she felt safer, even in this rat-filled tunnel. The ladder trembled as Bo climbed down. It creaked and groaned under his weight, drizzling bits of rust all over her. In less than a minute, Bo stood next to her in the darkness. The rest of them followed him down the ladder. Elaine grabbed his hand and pulled herself up. His skin felt warm and dry. She stumbled a bit, still unsteady on her good foot. Bo slid his arm around her waist for support. She noticed that her ankle didn't hurt as much with his arm around her. What happened? He asked. I fell. No kidding, he chuckled. You're lucky you didn't crack your skull. I didn't land on my skull, she told him. Someone dropped to the concrete near them. That ladder is totally rusted, came Max's voice. I'm amazed we didn't all fall. Did you feel it coming loose from the wall? You rhymed, Bo pointed out. Max made a disgusted sound. I'm serious, man. What are we doing down here? It's a rescue, Bo said. He gave Elaine a squeeze. I can't believe I'm doing this, Darlene grumbled, dropping to the hard floor. It smells all moldy. That's just Max, Bo replied. Can you stand Elaine? He let go of her before she could answer. I'm fine, she replied. She hobbled to the left and leaned against the wall for support. She couldn't see much in the darkness. Can someone tell me why we're standing in the sewer beneath Shadyside High School, please? Jerry asked sarcastically. He jumped off the last rung of the ladder. This isn't the sewer, Bo replied. Come on, Darlene wailed. Where are we? Let's shed some light on the situation, Bo said. He flicked his lighter. The passage was filled in flickering yellow light. Everybody gasped in shock. Chapter 7. Elaine stared at two words scrawled on the wall before them. Let's party. I've heard about this place, Bo said softly. Elaine glanced around. They stood in the corner of a large room with cinder block walls. Bottles, cans, newspapers, and food wrappers cluttered the floor. The walls were stained with patches of black mold and faded graffiti. Let's Party was slapped on in blood-red paint. Each letter dripped halfway to the floor. Several dark passages led off in different directions. What is this? Jerry asked. The labyrinth, Max replied quietly. His voice sounded awed. Yep, Bo agreed. He and Max shared an excited glance. What is going on? Elaine wondered. How do you know about it? She demanded. A guy I know, Lloyd, told us about this place, Bo replied. He claimed he came down here once, but we didn't believe him. Lloyd is a liar about most stuff, Max chimed in. Anyway, Bo continued, back in the 50s, they built these tunnels as a bomb shelter. Supposedly they run for miles. The plan was to connect the whole town in case we were nuked, but no one ever needed the shelter, so this place became party central. Shadyside kids would come down here and throw major parties. It was the cool place to come, Max added, because no one was allowed. Kids pretended they were stuck down here, and the bombs were on their way. It was their last night on Earth, and they partied like crazy. Elaine shivered. How morbid. But still, it was kind of cool. All the parties she'd ever been to were at her friends' houses. But partying down here would be more fun, more dangerous. I can't believe no one comes down here anymore, Jerry commented. I'm surprised you aren't a regular, Bo. Bo's eyes glittered in the flickering light. Maybe I'm not cool enough, Jerry? Oh, we talked about it, Max said with a smile, but we could never find the entrance. Yeah, thanks, Elaine, Bo grinned. Glad I could help, she replied. She couldn't help smiling even though her ankle hurt like crazy. I can't believe the labyrinth was this hard to find, Jerry said. So no one's been down here for years? Elaine asked. Her gaze traveled over the graffiti-covered walls. She couldn't help being fascinated. Forget the hallway upstairs. This really was a place that none of her friends at school had ever seen. They closed the tunnels off a long time ago, Max explained. All the entrances were blocked off. Why? Elaine asked. Something happened? Bo replied. Something bad? Elaine shivered. She watched their shadows flutter along the walls, as if all the kids who partied here were still hanging out, dancing. What happened? She asked. I don't know exactly, Bo replied, but kids died. a lot of kids died? Chapter 8. You're crazy, Jerry exclaimed. Kids died here? No way. This guy Lloyd told you all that? Elaine asked. Bo nodded. And he wasn't even drunk? That's why I believed him? Elaine believed him too. At first, she thought this was another practical joke, but Bo seemed so serious. Let's check the place out, Bo suggested. I want to see it. Why not? Max agreed. It's better than being upstairs, and Savage won't find us. Which means we'll all have detention next Saturday, Jerry muttered. Which means we can come down here again, Bo added. Jerry rolled his eyes. I want to get out of here, Darlene complained. That's 2 against 2, Bo pointed out. Elaine, you're the tiebreaker. Who said this was a democracy? Jerry growled. I did, Bo answered, and I say Elaine is the tiebreaker? Everybody stared at Elaine. She peered into one of the dark tunnels. She wanted to know where it led. She wanted to explore the whole labyrinth under Shadyside. But the fright of her fall hadn't left her. She still felt shaky. Her ankle hurt, but she could walk on it again, and she could feel blood running down her arm from her scraped elbow. Still, she didn't feel as bad now that she knew where she was and how to get out. I say we check it out, she said. If it's all gross and stinky, we'll just come back here and climb out. Jerry groaned. Bo's face lit up in a triumphant grin. Immediately, he knelt and began digging through the garbage on the floor. He came up with a few pieces of wood and some rotting fabric. What are you doing? Darlene asked. Making torches, Bo replied. He wrapped the fabric around the ends of the wood. My lighter is just about out. Elaine watched in surprise as Bo quickly made 3 torches. Then he rummaged in his jacket and produced a small can of lighter fluid. Elaine gasped. What's the lighter fluid for? Jerry demanded. Are you some kind of pyromaniac? What I do with my spare time is none of your business, Bo replied. He squirted the fluid on the fabric until the torches were soaked. Elaine felt worried. Bo was a little too weird. Who carried lighter fluid around them all the time? She concentrated on watching Bo. He held the lighter under the torches and they slowly came to life. They burned weakly, producing a lot of smoke. Better than total blindness, Bo remarked. He passed a torch to Max and one to Elaine. He held the last one himself. Jerry uttered a complaint, but Elaine ignored him. She peered into the darkness of each passage. She couldn't see anything. Each way was full of possibilities. Elaine wanted to try them all. She couldn't believe how excited she felt. Which one do we take? Bo asked. The right side, Jerry said. Why? Darlene asked. Why not? He replied. Elaine gripped her torch tightly. The others seemed to be just as excited as she was. It was now or never. Let's party, Bo declared. They stepped into the tunnel. Chapter 9. I can't wait to tell everyone about this on Monday, Elaine thought. She felt so adventurous tromping through the tunnels. No one is going to believe me, though. No one is going to believe practical, sensible Elaine when exploring in the labyrinth. But I did. Elaine followed Bo around another corner. I'll bring something back to prove I was really down here, she decided. She studied the ground as they walked, but all she found were a bunch of old beer cans and potato chip bags. Hi-ho, it's off to work we go, Max sang softly. Elaine heard Jerry give a snort of laughter. It was pretty funny. Max was totally blowing his tough guy image. Elaine spotted a stack of newspapers piled against one wall. Maybe there's an old one I can take back with me, she thought. She wandered over and picked one up. Hey, you guys have got to see this, she called. Jerry hurried up to her. What? It's a school paper from 1971, Elaine told him. Let me see. Darlene grabbed the paper out of Elaine's hand. Check out the vest that girl is wearing. It's made out of pieces of Coke cans crocheted together or something. Bo peered over Darlene's shoulder. Oh man, they have a music review of the new Doors album. Elaine bent down and grabbed another paper. She heard a soft chittering sound. She jumped away and knocked into Darlene. Watch it, Darlene snapped. I think I heard a rat over in that corner, Elaine said. Oh, gross. I'm going back, Darlene told them. Me too, Jerry agreed. I'm not. Bo headed down the tunnel. Max fell in behind him. Elaine scanned the floor of the tunnel. She didn't see any rats. I guess as long as I keep moving, they'll stay away from me, she thought. She hurried after Bo and Max. A few seconds later, she heard footsteps behind her. Elaine smiled. I didn't think Jerry and Darlene would try to make it back without a torch. All 5 of them moved deeper into the labyrinth. No one spoke. Elaine found herself thinking of the story Beau had told them. Images of other teenagers invaded her mind. Kids like her, having the time of their lives down here, and then dying down here. Fear gripped her. She wanted to turn back, but she couldn't. Everyone would laugh at her. Darlene especially. Elaine kept trudging forward, torch held high. She couldn't turn back, no matter what. The wall seemed to move in closer and closer. Every now and then, a rat squeaked in the darkness. Each time, Elaine remembered the tiny claws digging into her neck. Being down here isn't fun anymore, she told herself. I'm getting the creeps. What am I afraid of? She knew. Deep down, she knew. She had always been afraid of the dark. When she was little, she thought monsters lived in the dark, and even now, a dark room frightened her. I have to stop being a wimp, she told herself. She tried to force the fear away, tried to calm down. It worked, a little. She was able to peer through the flame of her torch and concentrate on the plaid pattern of Max's flannel shirt in front of her. The tunnel sloped downwards, burrowing deeper into the earth. Up ahead, Elaine heard a splashing noise. Beau stopped. What is it? Elaine asked. Look for yourself, Beau replied. Elaine edged forward. All she could make out was a pool of water taking up the entire passage. Water gushed out of the ceiling. Where is all this water coming from? Jerry asked. The real question, Beau replied, is how deep is it? Can we get across? Elaine spotted pieces of trash floating in the pool, bobbing up and down on the waves made by the incoming spout. I'm not going through that water, Darlene declared. I don't care how deep it is. What's the big deal? Beau asked. It's only water. No way, Darlene said firmly. I'm not walking through that. Me either, Elaine agreed. Jerry nodded. Beau rolled his eyes. Fine, we'll turn around and find another tunnel. He turned around and led the way down the tunnel. He made a right turn, then a left, then another left. Elaine stayed close behind him. I wish we were going back to the ladder, she thought. I'm ready to get out of here. Beau made a right turn. Why are we going this way? Jerry demanded. We already tried this tunnel. No, we didn't, Max answered. It just looks the same. They all look the same. Beau kept walking. I think Jerry's right, Darlene said. Beau stopped and shone his torch around the tunnel. Elaine realized that she had no idea where they were, and she had no idea how to get back to the ladder. They had taken 3 or 4 turns, but did they turn left or right? She couldn't remember. We're lost, aren't we? Elaine asked quietly. Chapter 10. We're not lost, Beau answered. Let's just go back to the ladder, Darlene said. I'm sick of it down here. Me too, Max agreed. All right, Beau said. I know the way. Come on. He started down the tunnel again. Yes, Elaine thought. We're getting out of here, and I didn't end up looking like a wimp. Beau turned right. I don't think this is the way. We're messing up, Jerry muttered. Is this how those other kids died? Elaine wondered. Did they get lost down here? Don't even think about that, she ordered herself. Are you sure you know where you're going, Beau? Darlene asked. Beau didn't answer. Elaine's ankle hurt more and more with each step. How much longer are we going to be down here, she wondered. A shiver raced through her. The tunnel began sloping down. Elaine heard the sound of running water. We're back where we started, Max cried. Great, just great, Jerry muttered. Beau whirled around to face him. You think you can do better? Jerry glanced over his shoulder at the tunnel. No, he admitted. Anyone else? Beau asked. Elaine shook her head. So did Max and Darlene. What are we going to do now? Elaine wondered. She wrapped her arms around herself, trying to stay calm. I think we should go across, Beau announced. If we go back, we'll just end up going in circles. Elaine stared into the murky water. She saw rats, brown, shiny creatures with fleshy pink tails. They swam back and forth, eating the decaying clumps of paper. Beau's right, Max said. These tunnels go all over the town. There's got to be a bunch of ways out. If we go across, we'll find one of them. We still don't know how deep it is, Darlene protested. Elaine noticed his torchlight glinting off something on the ground behind him. Look, there's a bottle over to the right of the water, she cried. So? Darlene demanded. So, Elaine repeated, the bottle is on the floor. It's not floating. Who cares about some dumb bottle? Darlene asked. Beau held his torch out over the pool, squinting into the darkness. Elaine is right, he declared. There's dry ground over there. It's a little ledge. The water doesn't go all the way across the tunnel. Great, Darlene muttered. Is it wide enough for us to walk on it? Jerry asked. There's only one way to find out, Bo said. He stepped onto the ledge. Elaine saw him teeter a bit as he got his balance. He took another step. It's not bad, he commented. It's pretty narrow, but it looks like it goes all the way across the pool. Follow me. You've got to be kidding, Darlene groaned. Bo took another step. Then he paused, examining the ceiling. Lots of rain, he said. Watch the torch, Max advised. No problem, Bo replied. He ducked through the thick droplets and jumped off the ledge on the other side. That's it, he declared. 4 feet wide, tops. The ledge goes all the way across. I'm not going, Darlene argued. No way. You want to get out of here, don't you? Bo demanded. It's disgusting. Just stay on the ledge. You won't even get wet. No. Elaine will do it, Bo told her. She would? Elaine took a deep breath. She had to do it. It was a chance to get her out of this place. Good, Darlene said. You can fall in. Elaine gazed over the pool at Bo. Maybe 4 feet wide, he'd said. A dry ledge all the way across. Well, Darlene pressed. I'm going, she announced. Darlene made a disgusted sound. Elaine hobbled forward, trying to stride with confidence despite her bad ankle. She stepped onto the ledge. The rock felt solid. She took a step out over the pool. Water washed up onto her foot. She took another step. The ledge narrowed. Hurry up, Max yelled. Hey, I have a bad ankle, remember? Just hurry. Elaine tried to move more quickly. She was almost to the middle of the pool now. Water washed over the ledge, soaking through her sneakers. Once or twice she almost lost her balance. There was nothing to hold on to except the wall, and that was slick with rainwater. What about you, Jerry? Bo called. Are you next? I'm coming, Jerry replied without hesitation. Elaine was freezing. The pool was pure rainwater, the temperature of winter slush. Hurry up, Max bellowed. I'm trying. Elaine looked up and found Bo staring into her eyes. Only a short space separated them. Don't worry about him, Bo told her quietly. Just concentrate on keeping your balance. You only have another few steps to go. Elaine nodded. She stepped forward. She kept her eyes locked on Bo. She stepped again. Something brushed her foot. Elaine jumped, letting out a squeal. Elaine! Bo yelled. She struggled to keep her balance. Quickly, she stepped forward. Her foot landed on something round and squirming. It scurried out from under her, throwing her backward. Her sneaker fell on the lip of the ledge and slipped. Elaine dropped into the water. She tried to scream, but her mouth filled with water and she began to choke on the putrid liquid.